Do you know which country has the power to end the world's dependence on Europe? For many years, the world has been dependent on Europe. Many businesses, investments, and countless projects were made with the help of Europe. Before the 2000s, the US, Germany, and Japan were dominating in many sectors. Whether it was trade, infrastructure, or high-speed trains, these were the countries that were best at it. But things changed when China started to appear in the limelight. China became a huge producer of goods, traders, infrastructure markets, and investment hubs in a few years. Now, if any country needs help, it no longer needs to seek from Europe. China is here to provide support. Just like that, Saudi Arabia wants to be the new Europe. It wants to be the best at everything in a few years, but it needs some aid. And asking Europe for help will not sit well with the idea of making Saudi Arabia a new Europe. So, Saudi Arabia decided to take help from China. Many projects were done, but the infrastructure projects are of prime importance. The project that strengthened China and Saudi Arabia's relationship was the $1.8 billion railway project, which no other country could do. Welcome back to another exciting episode of our channel. Innovation Diary brings you China's innovation stories, projects, and growing influence in different parts of the world. If you are new to the channel and enjoy learning about fast-paced modernity, especially China's development and growing power, you will definitely find our videos intriguing. In this video, we will talk about the $6.7 billion railway project China made for Saudi Arabia, connecting the two holy cities of Mecca and Medina. We will also see how this project will benefit China in the future. Let's get started. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, dreams of making Saudi Arab a new Europe. In a future investment initiative event, he stated that he thinks the Middle East will become a new Europe in the next 5 years. Saudi Arabia wants to be a leading country in the future, and the first step will be no dependence on Europe. In many ways, Saudi Arabia is not dependent on Europe already. Talking about oil, Europe is, in fact, dependent on Saudi Arabia. Apart from that, Saudi Arabia also wants to be a part of BRICS, so it has to cut off the relations that make it dependent on Europe. So, keeping both Mohammed bin Salman's dream to make Saudi Arabia a new Europe and BRICS' demand to cut connections with Europe in mind, Saudi Arabia has to make progress without the help of Europe. The first thing that Saudi Arabia decided to work on was railways. The pride of Saudi Arabia is Mecca and Medina, which are the two holy cities for Muslims. Every year millions of people go to Saudi Arabia for holy practices. This has caused Saudi Arabia to suffer from severe traffic issues every year. Mecca's train system is also incapable of dealing with crowds reaching millions of people, especially during the pilgrimage days. It needs to improve its trains to deal with such a number of people. So, Saudi Arabia decided to make a high-speed railway in Mecca. This railway would connect the two holy cities of Mecca and Medina. This railway was going to be the first ever high-speed railway in Saudi Arabia. But the question comes, who will make this railway? Saudi Arabia is not very experienced in making high-speed railways. If Saudi Arabia made this railway, they would have to spend $2.7 billion on it. So, instead of making it on its own, Saudi Arabia decided to let any other country make it. So, Saudi Arabia raised a tender. Many nations offered Saudi Arabia to hand over this project to them. Japan and Germany also responded to the offer because of the huge amount of money. China also appeared, but with a different offer. China is one of the best countries to construct railways, and the world already knows that. China is the only country with the world's longest railway network. So, China was already a good option for Saudi Arabia. But apart from that, China surprised Saudi Arabia and the entire world. China proposed to make this railway at the cost of $2.2 billion. But later, they made more calculations and decided to do this project for $1.8 billion. This was when other countries decided to bid no more. China was the only country that could make a railway at this cost. This project was quite complex, so the other countries decided not to bid anymore. No one other than China was able to make such a complex project at this cost. The railway will be made in the desert area, so it won't be easy to make. And every country was well aware of this challenge, so they simply withdrew their offers. But China took the challenge. Before we continue further, tell us, are you loving the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more videos about China's development, power, and influence on the world. Let's continue now. China already has a good reputation for doing projects that satisfy everyone. China fulfills its promise at any cost. So, Saudi Arabia trusted China and decided to hand over this project to them. This project was never easy for China to make. Many factors made this project a challenge. The first challenge was the very warm and dry weather of Saudi Arabia. China had to deal with temperature issues while making the railway. The railway must resist the temperature conditions. And then crossing the railway from the desert was also a big challenge. Each step of this 450-kilometer railway was a challenge. And Saudi Arabia was also aware of that. A 300-kilometer-per-hour speed train would travel on the railway, so the quality of the railway can't be compromised. But after all the difficulties, China made this railway almost amazingly. After completion, this project reduced the travel time for the pilgrims. And now Saudi Arabia no longer needs to suffer from travel issues. All thanks to China. Not just Saudi Arabia's government, but also the pilgrims praised China for making this railway. They called it a revolutionary project for Saudi Arabia. Not just for Saudi Arabia, this project was important for both countries. China will also get a lot of benefits after this project. What benefit will China get, you must be wondering. As already mentioned in this video, Saudi Arabia wants to be a new Europe. It wants to improve everything. And one of the major sectors is infrastructure. After this project, it is clear that China can be trusted. Saudi Arabia won't be seeking help from European countries, but it can take help from China. Also, Saudi Arabia wants to be a part of BRICS, so taking help from China will, in fact, help Saudi Arabia in this regard. On the other hand, China wants to help other countries with their infrastructure. It is something China has always been doing. After this massive project, it is clear that Saudi Arabia will give more projects to China in the future. After completing this project successfully, China impressed Saudi Arabia. China and Saudi Arabia have become new best friends, which will forever change history. This relationship will strengthen Saudi Arabia, China, and even the BRICS. It won't be wrong to say that China will be helping Saudi Arabia to be the new Europe. So, this internationally highlights China's importance. China is famous for providing help to other countries without interfering in politics and their personal affairs. China never controls its partners. It only does business. It believes in doing projects that benefit both China and its partners. This is something that makes China more reliable. China is very welcoming as long as the project helps both countries long-term and improves the future. While on the other hand, European countries are known for interfering in the personal affairs of a county. So, instead of seeking help from European countries, China is the best option now. Do you think China will be getting more projects from not just Saudi Arabia, but from all over the world? China's help is the only hope for countries in need because now there is no more need to seek help from Europe and compromise on anything. Comment right below in the comment section, does China become the best option for friendship? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing. Until the next video, stay tuned.